Good morning, Bucknutters. Welcome into the Morning Five on Tuesday, July 22nd, 2014. I am Dave Biddle, and I'm joined by 24/7 Sports National Director of Recruiting, Steve Wiltfong. Steve, welcome to the show, buddy. It'll be good seeing you this week at Friday Night Lights.
Dave, it's always one of my favorite events to cover, and my first true road event since my wife and I welcomed our little guy in the world. So looking forward to spending my evening in Columbus and getting out there and seeing all the bells and whistles at Friday Night Lights.
We found out just past midnight that Torrance Gibson confirmed to our Bill Kurlick that he will be coming to Friday Night Lights. Steve, I was skeptical that Gibson was actually going to make it when he was saying things like he would probably make it or he might make it. But this is obviously good news for the Buckeyes that he has decided he will be coming up for Friday Night Lights.
Well, Bill Kurlick and Alex Kleitman do great work on Bucknuts, and Torrance has been telling them for a while that he's wanted to visit Ohio State. I thought early in the process, and I stayed away from the 24/7 Sports crystal ball with Torrance Gibson because he's an impressionable kid. But I thought early in the process that it just made the most sense that he would ultimately be a Buckeye, top of the board kid for Ohio State, and we'll see what happens during his experience this weekend. He's certainly not going to get a better environment at any point on any visit he takes the rest of the process than the one he's going to get when he comes to Columbus this weekend. He's going to be surrounded by Ohio State commits. He's going to see all the bells and whistles on campus. It's going to be rocking. There's going to be fans inside the shoe. The sound system is going to be going. The highlights will be on the Jumbotron. And it's just going to be a great atmosphere. And Urban Meyer and Coach Herman and those guys will get to spend a lot of time with Torrance. So it'll be interesting to see what he says about Ohio State coming out of the visit. But I think if Ohio State's not at the top of his list right now, I think there's a good chance they will be when he heads back to Sunshine State.
Ohio State's obviously recruiting him as a quarterback. He wants to be a quarterback. Is there any team out there, to your knowledge, that's telling him, hey, you might have to move to wide receiver, or is everybody telling him, no, we want you as a quarterback?
I think he's aware that he's a guy that could play multiple positions at a high level on the next level. He wants an opportunity to play quarterback, but he has to know that all the schools that he's looking at, most of them are taking 2 quarterback classes. So if it doesn't work out for him under center, he is a guy that can go play elsewhere. And if we know that, he knows that.
Neville Gallimore is a guy that I've been keeping my eye on, big defensive tackle from Canada. I saw J.C. Sherbert, crystal ball, Neville Gallimore to Ohio State. Obviously a good sign for the Buckeyes, maybe just a shot in the dark. Maybe J.C.'s just trying to have an educated guess there. But what's your take on Neville Gallimore? Where do you think he's going to end up?
Neville Gallimore, at this point in the recruiting process, is a guy that when he's so humble that he doesn't want to, when he's doing interviews and talking to the media, and he doesn't want to put one school ahead of the other. But I think Ohio State definitely made an impression on him when he got a chance to visit. Certainly didn't hurt that Jayshon Cornell roomed with him at the opening, if I remember correctly. Yep. He's a top-of-the-board kid for every school. He is a true blue-chip talent, a phenomenal defensive tackle, and a guy that I think Ohio State will get to campus for an official visit. But for me, I'm not comfortable putting in a prediction for him right now. It'll be interesting to see what develops as he starts lining up visits. We'll see who the true players are for Gallimore moving forward.
Wide receiver Van Jefferson from Brentwood, Tennessee. The roller coaster recruitment of Jefferson continues. It looked like he was a Buckeye lock early in the process. In fact, we heard he almost committed to Ohio State. Then I was hearing, well, his dad doesn't really like Urban Meyer's offense as far as thinking it's not conducive for big wide receivers. And now I'm hearing that he's probably going to be a Buckeye. So I can think about, what are you hearing about Van Jefferson, Steve?
Well, my crystal ball for Van is Ohio State right now. However, and I know we're going to talk about Drew Richmond as well, as we talked about both off air. Those are Ohio State-Tennessee battles from my seat here in Indianapolis. And with Drew Richmond coming to Friday Night Lights this weekend, it'll be interesting to see what kind of impression Ohio State makes on Drew compared to the experience he got in Knoxville last weekend. and with Van. I think they're both dogfights right now, and we'll see what happens.
What do you make of Butch Jones? I get this question a lot, and I followed his career at Cincinnati when he was at UC for 3 years, and when he was hired at Tennessee, I thought maybe it was a little bit of a reach. But he's recruiting his butt off. Maybe still needs to prove himself as a head coach, in my opinion at least. What do you make of Butch Jones and the job he's doing at Tennessee? Are you surprised he's recruiting as well as he is?
Well, anytime, and I think people have heard me say this a lot, anytime you have a coaching change at a major university, you reap the benefits on the recruiting trail because you're able to sell excitement and being part of the class to turn things around and get Tennessee back on track. And obviously Tennessee is a tradition-rich program with a tremendous fan base and an awesome conference, and their campus and facilities are top-notch. So seeing Butch Jones recruit very well the first year, no surprise at all. And then you said you covered Butch Jones, so you've been around him. That he is a tireless worker now. And he didn't have the glitz and glamour of some of the other coaches that were maybe available when Tennessee chose to hire Butch. But Butch is a blue-collar guy that puts in work every day. From sun up to very late in the evening, he's a grinder. And so I think that he is a guy I think he is a good coach, and I think he's got a good staff in place there in Tennessee. But obviously you're talking the SEC, and you got to have Jins and Joes as well. And we'll see where Tennessee stacks up from a talent perspective this coming fall. But from an energy and tireless work ethic guy, I think that they got the right guy in place there at Tennessee.
Great stuff out of 24/7 Sports National Director of Recruiting, Steve Wiltfong. Can't wait for Friday to see you, buddy, and to see Friday Night Lights in action. You'll be there. Bill Kurlick, Alex Kleitman, Steve Hellwagon will all be there. I'll be there when I get off of the air of 97.1 The Fan. I'll be on from 6 to 8 p.m. doing Buckeye Extra, so I'll head on over to the Horseshoe after that. But great stuff out of Steve Wiltfong. Thank you, sir.
Dave, more importantly, a lot of the Bucknut Morning 5 listeners will be at Friday Night Lights as well, and that's what makes it the coolest atmosphere I go to every year for a camp.
That's a great point, because people can get in for free, they can park for free. If you don't get a chance to come to the Horseshoe very often, you think prices are astronomical, this is a free event, and not a lot of people will be there. There'll be like 5,000 people. I mean, that's a lot of people, period. But when you talk about in the Horseshoe and it holds 105,000, it's not a lot. So that's a good point. Bring your family, bring your buddies. Come on down to Friday Night Lights. It's free. Thank you for joining us for the Bucknuts Morning 5. Take it away, best damn band in the land.